Welcome back, heroes, to another live stream of Zen Thought. Okay, so we are joined today by OneunderK and another. Hang on, what? I had the sound on. Don't worry about it. But we're joined by OneunderK and Dbzethioboy. How's it going, guys?
It's going good.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the subject of super fights. Not necessarily saying who would win, but more of just in the subject in general. I usually like to look at the psychology behind things and stuff like that, so I figured it might be a more interesting discussion surrounding just the concept of it and why people do it and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
So,
What?
Sorry.
It's like Fleshwood. Okay, so let's go ahead and go around. Start with Oneunder. Just, tell a little about yourself and also, like, experience that you had with, I guess, comic culture, anime culture, and super fights in general, if you've ever participated in any of those kinds of discussions.
All right. Well, I'm OneunderK. I'm always on his Zeshin's content because, I don't know. I do stream on Mixer now, so that's a new thing. So, and in terms of experience, I've read through a lot of the Sonic comics. I know a lot about other comics. I don't really want to subscribe to the comics, so I just kind of like look up wikis and see panels and this and that for that kind of stuff. But I've read a lot of manga, comics, and stuff like that. Mostly Sonic, though.
Sonic.
I've never actually participated in like a super fight kind of situation where it's like a who would win. I've seen it go down. I've seen, the playground arguments flare up. Never been part of one. I've always just kind of kept to the background, like, look at these two dummies.
Okay, DB?
I'm DB. I do have a YouTube channel, probably in Zeshin's description, I'm hoping. To
The
God.
world's greatest 480p gamer.
Yeah, the world's greatest 480p YouTuber live. Check my stats. I'm 100% legit.
100% 480p.
100%. With my knowledge of comic books and anime and that sort, mostly just read, I would say, mostly the big animes, such as like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, what do you call it? Bleach. So I know some weird ass stupid levels of fucking power. Yeah. And then there's also like, My Hero Academia. And then there's comic books like Batman, Flash, Superman, even the Marvel side of comic books. So, and I did participate in some of these super fights, and I've been right all the time. Okay, just saying out there, I've been right.
Hey, remnants of Kiggles here! Yay!
Yeah, the jokes will spread.
Oh God, no.
Okay, so I'm Zeshin, HeroesNFools. My experience is just I've mostly been obsessed about the characters in a lot of these things in comic books and anime and whatnot. I have watched a lot, like I've actually watched all the way through Naruto, trying to keep up with DBZ, and I need to pick up One Piece again. Although, geez, that's going to be a long one.
Good luck with that.
No, you don't need to pick up One Piece.
Good luck with that.
Look, it's
You're
fun,
fine.
all right? I'm having fun.
It's
But in terms of like these discussions, I've participated in quite a few. There was a website where they actually try to gauge every character's stats in existence. So they get the list of their feats and abilities and all that. I can't remember what it was because I stopped going there after a particular discussion about Tifa.
You mean like from Final Fantasy?
Yeah, basically they're like, oh yeah, she's light speed.
What?
Yeah, that's why I stopped.
Excuse me? Let me guess. That was around the same time the Tifa and Yang fight went down.
Yeah, basically they were like, because Cloud fought. Oh no, it was because Zack fought against the Behemoth or whatever. Said guy was able to fly through space, so by transitive property, he's able to fight at light speed, which is not true. As such, because Cloud is on a similar level to Zack, and because they were fighting Sephiroth, who was more powerful than Cloud, and yet were able to keep up with him by transitive property, all the other characters had to be as fast as Cloud, and as such were light speed.
That's such a jump in logic.
Which I'm going to get to a specific part in the conversation why I believe such things happen. But
I think I have an answer as well.
All right, but first, let's go over the simple question, what is a super fight? So the main thing that, because I wanted to clarify, a lot of people ask what we're talking about. The idea of a super fight is taking two characters and seeing who would win between the two of them. I call it a super fight because generally said characters are beyond normal level in some instance. As such, you have some way to compare them. So even if you had like a Bruce Lee versus Jackie Chan, the amount of feats that they usually take from the movies, it's usually beyond human level. So yeah, so the basic thing surrounding around that is there's several communities that pretty much try to figure who of their favorite characters is the best within these different episodes and whatnot. And you even have them pertaining to the same episode, but more often than not, you have them from different episodes or different shows. So I wanted to present the question to those who are here. Do you think that it's like, what do you think about the difference between them? About like super fights contained within the same show versus super fights contained from different shows, or even if they're within like, let's say, what would it be, like the same artists but different shows?
I mean, I would say that for the same show, it's a little more reasonable, but with different shows, it's not, because people write them in different ways, and plot and all that kind of thingamaboopers. I mean, like, you can't compare, something like the Flash with Quicksilver. I'm just saying, okay, Quicksilver in a situation, because they're two different comic books, and they have two different arcs, and they have two different physics, or like laws of physics, so you can't really abide them together, because one person can be at this type of speed, but they don't explain the speed on another version of it. Like, people always say that Flash can always be Quicksilver because he has a speed force, and it's just a magical property that can fucking super speed and all that kind of bullshit. But I don't know, it doesn't really sometimes make sense to me with having a speed force. But then again, that's just my own weird thoughts. But I think that for comic or characters in two different settings of comic books or manga, it's much more difficult to gauge the power levels for each of them because of how their universes work.
Yeah.
You got anything else to add on that, Oneunder?
Yeah, well, I was actually going to bring up something that even like I think that comparing people within the same, or like characters within the same universe, like Marvel, like who would win, Thor or Hulk, and I'm gonna get to that in a moment, but like, that's a little bit more reasonable than who would win, Batman or Spider-Man, or Batman or Iron Man. It's like, because they operate on two different levels of things, and it doesn't, it might not make sense. But someone actually asked somebody on the comic book team for Marvel, who would win in a fight, Thor or Hulk, and the response was whoever's writing the story would choose the winner. So sometimes, depending on who's writing it, Thor would win. Sometimes, depending on who's writing it, Hulk would win. Sometimes whoever's writing it, both would get killed by Thanos. I don't know. by Squirrel Girl or Deadpool. Like, it's completely up to the writer in reality. But if you want to remove the meta factor from it, it's fine to compare characters within the same contained universe, because they all operate on similar properties. Not always the same, but similar enough that you're like, yeah, this works. But because it comes down to, comparing these characters, what applies to what character.
Pretty much.
with Dragon Ball Z, like people always like characters from Naruto could beat Dragon Ball Z, even though apparently Kishimoto, Naruto guy, said that Madara at the end of the series is like Raditz level. And I mean, you can see that based on their feats, like they're blowing up mountains and stuff like that, and that's pretty impressive for that universe. But like, Krillin could blow up the Earth.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's because they operate on two different things. So, also, is chakra the same thing as ki? Because they always make the argument, well, if they're the same thing, so that means that Neji could punch him a couple of times and they'd not be able to move, or they could use the shadow like jutsu. What is it? Not shadow clone. The one Shikamaru uses to like
shadow
Oh, I know
possession
what you're
jutsu.
talking
Yeah, I think it's shadow possession jutsu. And it's like, well, he could use that because chakra and ki are the same thing. It's like, they got two different names, so why don't we call them two different things? Because I don't think that anyone's able to just shoot a generic energy blast out of their hand in Naruto. They've got to use special hand symbols and then declare the name of the attack.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, you take, Naruto's thing. He just pretty much makes that Rasengan and throws it.
Yeah, but that's still.
But
that
they have
takes...
to do something.
Yeah, there's hand motions. Like the only person in DBZ who's ever needed to make a hand motion is Trunks, where he just kind of like waves his hands around like he's trying to swat a fly
for no reason.
Yeah, and then I mean, again, the closest other thing was Piccolo with the special beam cannon and Goku with the instant transmission. They have hand motions, but like they don't have to. They can stick their hands out and start firing shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's not and.
I would think that
the characters are only as strong as the writers need them to be.
Mhm.
So, with that, I wanted to actually move on to one of the other subjects that's in this matter, which is pretty much about when a super fight happens. What a lot of people end up doing is they try to take what was in the show or in the manga and establish feats. So, like, for example, as DB was mentioning in the beginning, Quicksilver and Flash, because two of them are speedsters, they would, of course, try to find all of their feats of how fast that they were able to move, or combat feats. But one of the things I wanted to point out with that is that what you end up having here is that you have a interpretation of an artist's expression. So one thing I wanted to kind of as an example, when trying to determine like how fast a character will go, they'll try to figure out the distance that they moved from one session to another, or maybe one comic panel to another, and then guesstimate the time and figure out how long it took them. But the thing that they always skip over is, what if the artist didn't really intend for them to be going that fast? What if they're just like, okay, they need to be here? So in the end, it becomes a difference between the artistic expression versus the fans' interpretation. So this is one of the things that I always try to point out with super fights and whatnot. Anybody can have whatever interpretation they want, and therefore have a victory that they want based upon their interpretation. Because, for example, I could take Quicksilver and Flash, and I could just decide to say, okay, well, he won't have the Speed Force because it's a different universe, therefore a lot of his powers won't work. Or I could say, well, the Flashes of these specific comics I'm not really going to count, and I'm just going to look at what a lot of the stuff that Quicksilver did, which
or
seems to
happen.
happen.
Quicksilver could tap into the Speed Force, and then,
Yeah, make those kind of interpretations. Things that, like, the artist never actually portrayed, but we decide to interpret because we assume that this is logical. So, on those instances, what do you guys think in terms of, like, artistic expression versus fan interpretation? Like, I personally feel like the various different kinds of fan interpretation discussions are interesting, but do you feel like there gets to a point where fan interpretation starts to basically become its own thing versus what the artist actually wanted to express?
Yeah, definitely.
I think so.
I mean, you look at like the Dragon Ball community, and and that explains everything. Like, people are so wildly, different on their interpretations of things. Not to mention, there's a shit ton of clickbaity nonsense and misinformation because people say, well, Toriyama said this in an interview, and then it turns out that he actually never said that, but people believe that, and then that's, you know, and it's hard to dispel that rumor, you know. I mean, we could talk about, I'll bring up Broly in a second, but, you know, fan interpretation, it definitely becomes its own thing. And a lot of the times, especially in the context of super fights and stuff like that, it always becomes cherry picking to prove your point and not realizing, well, you know, this character would win, but also trying to have two characters fight, it's cool. But if you're gonna throw yourself into that end of the pool, make sure that you're gathering all your facts, because if it's not, if you're just looking for what you want to win, it's not a who would win in the fight, it's who do I want to win in the fight. And then back to fan interpretation specifically, I mean, everyone's like, well, Broly is so amazingly strong because his ki is overflowing and it's endless. You know, there's different ways to interpret what that means. You know, some people, they interpret it as that means his power just naturally rises for no reason, other than the fact that he's the legendary Super Saiyan and he's just so cool, you guys. His power is maximum. You know, and then other people say it as like, it's like the androids, they have limitless energy, and that's stamina, that they can shoot ki blasts for days and not feel tired.
Which I want to know what is powering that. That thing could power like the planet. A hamster.
Toriyama's gonna like come out and be like, yeah, it was actually like Neko Majin running around on a hamster wheel this entire time. Or like a chestnut or some dumb shit like that. I mean, he ruined Super Saiyan by talking about S cells.
I don't know if I'd say ruined.
S cells are midichlorians, dude.
I mean,
S cells are the midichlorians of Super Saiyan now.
To be fair, it does help to make sense why some of them can do it and some of them can't.
You're absolutely correct. It does, but it's just like, I didn't...
But here's what I was hoping for, what they described that, and then Bulma goes, oh, S cells. Well, I'm going to create an extraction of S cells and then boost somebody up as Super Saiyan and become the first Super Saiyan human.
If Krillin got retroactive Zenkai boosts... Oof.
Most powerful person ever.
Yeah, but like, there you go. Broly interpretation, is his ki rising? Does that mean his power is rising, or is his ki rising meaning that he has so much energy that it's constantly overflowing, and so he has to just like burn it off with random blasts? Like, cause you see him expel so much energy and stuff like that, and so people have theorized like, well, if Broly survived long enough, he could beat Beerus and he could beat Zeno. It's like, yeah, but if you take Broly's personality into account, he's just gonna run around like a fucking moron and blow shit up until there's no more shit to blow up. And that's, people make these jumps in logic. Well, he could. It's like, but he couldn't, because he's a full character with flaws, and one of his flaws is that he's stupid as fuck. So it's cherry picking.
Yeah.
Yep, that does seem to happen quite often when it comes to these type of discussions.
There's also some bullshit the way that some comic books, like for example, with the Flash, which is one comic that apparently, because you know how you see in, you know, you would see in TV shows, you'd see in movies, you would see even in other comic books that, you know, the Flash and Superman basically are at the same speed whenever they, you know, run or fly, for Superman's case. Yeah. But there's just one comic book that they just fucking they just put Flash on a whole different level. And it was basically just to be a giant, hey, the Flash is actually faster, and he's been giving Clark, you know, charity when he ran.
He's been sandbagging.
Exactly. And he says that he can think at the speed of light and also perceive events less than an attosecond or an attosecond, which is insane because an attosecond is, there's 12 attoseconds in the shortest measurable period of time, and it takes that from one light to travel from one atom to the next. So he can perceive events less than a single attosecond. It doesn't make any sense to me, because it's just like, why the fuck would you power him up to this high? And that's why I think, people always say that Flash would win because of fucking, or in any type of speedster battle, because of this fucking comic book, because they just I don't know why, but they just put him to the top of everything, and just a massive, like Dragon Ball Z level of power. It's just, I don't get the fuck why they did that. It kind of just ruined everything, because usually the Flash is just like, I'm not fast enough. I can't do it. But then this comic book comes out of nowhere. It's just like, okay, I can do everything.
He can do everything.
It's just
to
like,
be
okay.
fair, let's be real. If he was only as fast as Superman, then Flash would be like worse than Aquaman. Because Superman would have the speed of the Flash, laser eyes, flight, super strength, incredible handsome jawline, freeze
Perfect.
breath, the supernova thing that makes him like run out of his powers. Like, and the Flash would be like, what? Well, I can run really fast.
I could do that too.
Superman can fly so fast that he can turn the Earth's rotation backwards.
Yeah,
It makes Flash completely invalid until that point.
To be fair,
They
though,
overdid it.
Superman was like one of the early superheroes, and then other superheroes came in. And I was like, well, my guy could do that too.
Yeah. It's like that's the thing is, because of the time Superman came out. That's another thing is timing of a character plays immensely into their scaling within their universe and within the multiverse of comics. Is Superman was meant to be super powerful. So it's like, oh well, because I think he was made like around like the comic, like Cold War stuff, and earlier,
something like that.
Yeah, so he was meant to be some sort of like American symbol, and so like he had to be super powerful because people were so goddamn patriotic that they were like, well, our superhero has to represent everything and be the most powerful and stop and be a moral, high ground for everything. And
a god.
And now that that's done, they can play around with Superman and be like, yeah, Superman's actually kind of like an asshole, or Superman isn't as
True
cool as you
American.
thought. Yeah, Superman isn't actually Clark Kent. It's been a ruse this entire time, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Captain
he's a Boy
America,
Scout.
perfect example.
Yeah, I think with it's kind of bullshit how Superman has been going, because Limitless and all that kind of shit.
Yeah,
But
so
then again, comic books in general are stupid, because there's like the artist thing about the Flash thing, and then there's the one where the fans just take it way overpowered, where they think Beast Boy is a god because he can, he could turn into different kinds of animals, but then he can also turn into different types of insects and different types of like living things he can turn into. And so they thought that because he can turn into a swarm of bees means he can turn into a swarm of T-Rexes. I'm just like,
but that's still a T-Rex is still not like.
Well, how about
But
a
he-
swarm of raptors or a swarm of I don't know, some deadly animal?
A swarm of
Yeah.
Martian manhunters.
oh,
He's already green, so it's not like he'd have to do much work.
yeah. But then it gets to the point where fans are just like, okay, if he can turn into like a swarm of insects, then he can just fucking turn into a swarm of the deadliest things on Earth and just kill everything.
Why not a swarm of Supermans?
Yeah, because
Oh, God.
he has the ability to turn into living beings. Humans are animals.
Mm-hmm.
So see here we can do a ridiculous jump in logic right now. We're gonna simulate it for you.
Well, Beast Boy has the ability to turn into animals, living things, and humans are living things, and Superman's a living thing. So if he could turn into a swarm of bees, then he could turn into a swarm of Superman Prime 1 million.
Yeah.
And then he could turn back time and. Yeah.
And laser
He has
everything.
all the superpowers at that point.
And then he could also be Batman and the Flash and himself and Robin all at the same time as one thing, and then he could be Gorilla Grodd.
Oh,
heard-
Jesus.
You heard it here first. Beast Boy, most OP superhero.
Yeah, but it's fucking Plastic Man's OP, dude.
Fucking OP. Fucking Jesus.
So, just to add on to that as well, one of the things I was talking about before we started the podcast was, here's also like another example of how like the logic can get just completely out of control. So around the time when there was it was Tifa versus
I thought
Yang.
we talked about this at the beginning of it already.
Was
Yeah.
it? No, I thought we talked about it like before the podcast.
Yeah, dummy.
No, it
Yeah.
was during. I thought it was during.
I was
Was
pretty sure it was before.
I'm gonna rewind.
All right, you rewind while I just reiterate, just because even if I did say it before, it's kind of like it's just an interesting jump in logic. But so yeah, with the whole Tifa versus Yang, essentially the whole like, what was it? So they took the idea of Tifa and what they did was they traced it back to Zack. So Zack's in the same universe. Zack was able to fight one of the what was it called? Bellmounts or something? Hello, Spinny.
Bahamut.
Bahamut, yes. So in Bahamut's cutscene special, he was able to fly into outer space and charge an attack that looks like that it should incinerate the Earth, but for some reason doesn't. But anyways, the fact that he was able to fly past several moons, they placed him at light speed level.
Yeah, you did talk about this already.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
it was
that
about
whole
20
thing.
minutes in.
Okay. Oh, wait. We're about 28 minutes in. We're about 28 minutes in.
According to so it was about 8 minutes ago then.
What? I just started talking about it.
Oh, not 20 minutes, because it goes backwards from stream, so it's about...
Oh, so close to the beginning. Anyway, so yeah,
It's
that
very
thing
close
that
to
we
the
talked about at the beginning, just the fact that Tifa was scaled up so much to light speed level. If I already talked about it, I already talked about it.
No, it's fine. I'm sorry to piss on your parade.
I do not know who the teller is. Tekken. Oh, Tekken's fine.
Oh, I like Tekken.
Tekken's fun.
But yeah, that example from the beginning, essentially scaling Tifa to light speed just because of extrapolated facts. It's just a prime example of why when you get fan interpretation, these kind of feats just kind of scale out of control and just start representing character just incorrectly. Which I think I want to lead that to more of like, I just want to say, like, me personally, I feel you would want to figure out a character based upon their artistic interpretation, basically what the artist wanted them to be, versus what you would think that they should be able to do as a way of comparing it to another universe if you wanted to do that. So rather than taking that huge extrapolation to say Tifa's light speed and should be able to beat Yang, you say, okay, well, based upon how they portrayed her in movies and whatnot, she doesn't actually seem to be going light speed, so that seems like a stretch. Let's just take her as like a really good kickboxer, boxer type character, and then compare that to another character.
I'm
Because
a
at that
professional kickboxer.
Yeah, but yeah, essentially try to figure like what is the closest to what the artist wanted to portray, rather than trying to find little details to make your character better.
Well, yeah. I think, honestly, one of the only times you could really compare characters. Not one of the only times. One of the best examples of a thing where you could compare characters is in JoJo, because the power scaling in that, I mean, it definitely ramps up when you get to like part 5 and stuff like that, but then it resets around 7, and it always resets like every once in a while. So like you can still compare like part 3 characters to part 6 characters and stuff like that. I mean, a lot of them would lose, but
Well,
they're all still relevant in a way, because I mean, Jotaro remains relevant for 3 parts.
Well, I mean, at the very least in that, you're still comparing the same universe, so you actually have comparable results, which I wanted to bring that into another concept, which is about, like, it's more along the lines of interpretation, but the idea of trying to actually, like, measure people's feats and then using, like, our own calculations to figure it. For example, the idea of measuring, what was it? Like, if you're trying to measure Goku's flight speed or Superman's flight speed by taking, like, realistic distance and also trying to figure out, okay, well, he's this times the speed of light, and then using our own calculations to figure that. Now, one of the things I wanted to throw into that conversation, though, is the fact when you do that, you have to actually ignore some of our calculations, because our calculations actually say you cannot exceed the speed of light. So at which point you have to throw the whole, was it the speed mass ratio or whatever it was? I can't remember the specifics, but it's like basically the faster you go, the more energy you require to actually increase your momentum because your effective mass increases. I'm not exactly sure about that.
Well, yeah, because it's like because you're going so fast, the forces are affecting you more, which means that it's like kind of an exponential thing.
Yeah, but essentially you need more and more and more energy to actually get the same output. So like the idea of taking Goku, for example, because he has like the transformations and whatnot, figuring out his speed and then going, okay, well, Super Saiyan makes him 50 times faster, and then ignoring the fact that as you approach the speed of light, you actually need to take less and less and less energy, or less and less speed for the amount of energy that he's putting in to actually figure his speed.
Yeah, it's
so
diminishing returns.
Yeah. So that begs the question, and I want to see what you guys think. Do you think it's even realistic to actually measure these super fights to figure their speeds, considering that a lot of the equations might not even like it might not even like be compatible, or even more so, for example, if you were to take DC and Marvel, the facts that their physics are completely different, and then start trying to use our own to actually compare them. Do you guys think that that's even like feasible?
As long as you're consistent, it's feasible as long as you remain consistent. Obviously, you're gonna have to throw out some things to piece all of them together, but you're already throwing out logic when you're comparing two characters from two completely different series. So, like, you either calculate everything by the physics of one. You can't really calculate by one, because if you say, well, we're going to calculate everything based on DC and we're going to bring Marvel into it, then that might give an advantage to one side or the other. It might not even be an advantage to DC. If you compare it by our world logic, with a few exceptions, obviously, because they're superhumans and whatnot. So if they say they can move faster than the speed of light, then you just kind of have to accept that they can, because they're superhuman. The science says we can't, but they don't listen to science. Science don't mean a goddamn thing. Like, Newton would be rolling over in his grave. But in that case, or what you can do is you can compare them in their own rules and say, what, like I was saying before with like Naruto and DBZ, is chakra the same thing as ki? If you say yes, then that's that
one
means one thing.
conversation.
If you say that they are separate types of energy, then wouldn't any of Naruto techniques work on them that are chakra based, like shadow possession or the blocking chakra? Does that work on them because they don't have it?
I thought the whole shadow possession was just controlling their shadow, though.
I think. Well, I'm just using that as an example because it's like chakra based, and you can
right.
Or if we want to go back to comic books, instead of using mango.
I love that mango.
Yeah, dang ass mango. But if you apply the physics, like if you again like with Quicksilver and Flash. Can Quicksilver use the Speed Force? Is that what allows him to go fast in this scenario? Or is Flash have the Speed Force and Quicksilver's got his mutant powers, and those are completely separate things? Or do you say, well, we don't have a Speed Force in our world, so there's no Speed Force at all, and Flash is just fast? Because if all of his powers come from something that doesn't exist, how do you explain his powers in this theoretical fight? So you either say Quicksilver can't use the Speed Force and Flash can, which in that case Flash probably wins, or you say Quicksilver can use the Speed Force and then it goes nowhere because the timeline gets fucked because they move so fast trying to kill each other that the universe explodes and then nobody wins.
Yeah, there was that concept. It's like Goku versus anything. Goku throws a punch, everybody dies.
I mean, then well, and you were talking about artist interpretation. One Punch Man. Is
Oh,
One
God.
Punch Man a One Punch Man in all universes, or is he so strong that he can destroy everything in his universe in one punch? And then if he tried to fight DBZ characters, he would be either on their level or completely beneath them. Or again, is he just a One Punch Man because the artist's interpretation was to make him a gag character that can beat anything in one punch? Which means that he could beat everything in one punch. He could beat Superman Prime 1 million. He could beat Goku. He could beat Zeno. He could beat all of them fused into one character. He could beat every character from every conceivable universe except himself, fused into one massive power in one punch because he's One Punch Man.
Well, maybe he could beat himself. Just whoever got the first punch off first.
Yeah, that's the thing. Or again, you know, so which is it? That's again, that comes down to cherry picking. Do you want to go by artist interpretation or by realist or by feats and say, well, if he's able to one punch a building and characters of this size, well, Superman's done that too, so Superman could beat him, even though we might not have seen the upper limits of Saitama's abilities. And yeah, he's able to one punch those, but he might also be able to one punch the sun into supernova.
It just punches them. I think what was it on the actual character of Saitama though? I remember seeing Rhymestyle actually mentioning something on Twitter about like his punch is supposed to be the equivalent of a Big Bang. So I think they actually did limit his punch power. Basically, his punch could create a universe or destroy it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, then there you go. So if we take that as fact, then you compare it to feats. If you take it as interpretation because that was thought of after the fact, then he's invincible. It's so he's either godlike or he's unstoppable. But based on however you want to cherry pick logic.
By godlike, are you saying like DBZ godlike, or are you saying like
exactly? See, there you go, and there it is, and there you have it, folks.
And this is why these conversations always spiral out of control.
And then people are so, they want their character to win so bad that it doesn't become it doesn't become about like, because it's like, well, who would win, Goku or Naruto? Well, I don't really like Naruto all that much, so I would say Goku. But then people who like Naruto would be like, well, Naruto could do this, and well, I think Sonic's cooler than fucking, the Flash, but the Flash would probably turn him into red paste on the side of the road.
Damn right.
So, I wanted this to lead into basically the end question, or well, maybe not necessarily the end question, but at least one of the most important ones. Is it possible to ever actually answer the question, who would win? Because I know, like, you got the what was that one show called, Death Battle or whatever? There was like we're gonna solve the question. You also have some debates that like get really heated trying to solve the question.
1 minute melee.
Yeah, do you guys think that it is actually even possible to answer the question, who would win?
Yes.
No.
Yes. You just ask the writers. Because that's what that's what I was saying before. I don't know. See, here's the thing. We could be spreading more clickbait, misinformation, stuff like that. But according to an interview that a lot of people cite as true, including some more reputable people, who would win between Goku and Naruto characters, like Dragon Ball versus Naruto, and Kishimoto, I think it's Kishimoto is how you say it, said that Madara, like I said before, Madara is a Raditz level character, and Raditz is pathetic, according to DBZ.
Universe.
Yeah, Raditz is absolutely pathetic.
Although if he had Raditz in Super, he'd probably put a hole in Goku with a ray gun.
Exactly. So you just ask the writers, and if the writers say, well, then and if the writers aren't petty and say, well, my characters would win because they're mine, you know,
I gotta say, I would love to see the one of the like creators of Superman and the writers or anybody else who was on DBZ. It's just Toriyama, right?
Well, yeah, Toriyama is like was the not like the sole creator, and then he had like supervisors to rein him in and be like, no, don't do that. Don't
yeah,
do that.
so
That's
so
dumb.
just get those guys, and then some of the people from Superman, and then have them actually have like a super fight discussion.
Yeah, that's all you got to do is you got to. But here's the thing: Toriyama would pull something random out of his ass to satisfy the question. With what are 17 and 18's real names? Well, I've been playing Minecraft a lot. Lapis and Lazuli. Who's Android 16? Shit. He based off of Dr. Giro's kid.
It's launch.
Yeah, and then it's like, well, what happened to launch? Well, it just didn't work out. It's like, no, you literally fucking forgot about her.
Yeah, fucking Tien over here had a fucking honey.
You literally forgot about her.
You just want to torture Tien.
Why is Goku able to turn into a Super Saiyan? Well, because of this.
Midichlorians. I mean, S
cells. But really, I don't feel like coloring Goku's hair anymore. So we're just gonna make it. It's gonna be gold. But in the manga, since it's black and white, it's just gonna be white. Now I don't got to color in his hair as often anymore. Yay me.
I really like the way that Super Saiyan went.
Who's the original god? Oh, well, it's this guy called Yamoshi, and then he got killed by bad Saiyans, and then like his ghost was wandering around, and then and then he found some righteous Saiyans, and then he became a Super Saiyan god. And
bam, easy though.
So
Toriyama is not a reliable source
of his own content. Oh yeah. I did want to say, though, that I feel it is possible if you have fan interpretation. It is possible to solve their debates, but if and only if they actually accept that what they have come together with is the fan interpretation and no longer canon.
Yeah.
The problem is I never seen anyone actually get to the point where they would accept that, because the whole time they're trying to pull a bunch of facts to be as close to the show as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing is, once you have this is our interpretation of Flash, and this is our interpretation of Quicksilver, and we figured out who would win, you just have to accept, okay, that is your interpretation of who would win. That is not necessarily who would win.
No. It's mine. It's real. It happened.
It's my
It's
OG,
all
nobody
Flash.
steal.
It's all Flash. I'm talking about Flash and killing everybody.
No, Quicksilver.
Nope, Flash.
Quicksilver could run in slow motion, and he time stop.
Yeah, he would totally time. He's like on hit level because he could time stop.
Yeah.
I just for someone fucking powerful as Goku come out of nowhere and just fucking ignore everything. Just like, oh, your technique is there. Oh, fuck off, okay? Just stop. You know what?
I would actually love. I need to find the actual comic of it where somebody had One Punch Man in DBZ universe. Just the idea of going through and just having all their characters' reactions to just nothing working.
Goku would be psyched.
I just want that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Someone would be happy.
I mean, I think that it's kind of funny. Here's something we didn't touch on because we're talking about crossovers. Spider-Man and the Spider-Man and Attack on Titan crossover.
What?
Yeah.
So this is actually a thing?
Let me see if I can find Spider-Man.
Is this a canon thing or a fan thing?
Attack on Titan. I think they had a comic of it, I believe. Attack on Avengers.
Attack on Avengers.
Yeah. Search up Attack on Avengers and go into images, and there's all the panels.
What the fuck?
All right, everyone, just hit your Google Attack on Avengers.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Ooh, jeez.
So Spider-Man, according to this, Spider-Man could fight Titans.
Wait, so did they have just Spider-Man, or did they have Hulk and all them?
I think it was just Spider-Man, or mostly just Spider-Man, because he's got, his web swinging powers that are similar to their gear.
In this panel, I could see the Hulk jumping it down on a Titan, so I think he was there.
Oh yeah, there. Okay, I didn't. Like I said, I haven't seen in the yeah. So he's there. Then it is probably a lot of them. Yeah. Captain America's in one of these panels as well, and I see Black Widow.
Because I can foresee like a lot of them actually having issues, but some of these heroes they just wouldn't care, and Hulk would be one of them, and Thor would be another.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Hulk could powderize the armored Titan if he wanted to.
Yeah, and especially any of the normal Titans who would try to like eat him, it's like he regenerates. So
yeah, well, see here we go with like
Yep.
the crossover. Like it's like, but that's again, we're going on.
it becomes our interpretation.
Yeah, it becomes our interpretation. I'm pretty sure that the Hulk could punch a large humanoid creature down pretty easy. Like I don't think he'd even have to do like the nape of the neck thing, because if a bunch of random fuckwits are able to do it.
According to Attack on Titan, you would have to do the nape of the neck, because if you don't, they just regenerate back. They actually have hyper regeneration as well.
Well, I'm saying I'm maybe we don't know because it's never gonna happen. But like,
it's in comic book form.
Yeah, well, so like, but what if Hulk was able to just punch them so hard that their brain stopped working?
As long as it smashed the neck, I believe. Because
Alrighty then.
how much of Attack on Titan have you watched?
Only the first season, and I know stuff of the second season.
Okay,
and I know
you
some
should
stuff from the manga.
you should probably watch the rest, because there's a reason why you have to hit the nape of the neck.
Well, I know a couple. I don't want to spoil anything that I do know. In case anyone here.
So for those of you out there who are listening, we won't spoil it for you, but just let's just put it at, you have to hit the nape of the neck, otherwise the regeneration still kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
Would be a pansy. I got myself spoiled when I fucking watched the first season way back when. It was just like this. I'm like, you bitch. Like, I hate you so much.
So that is one thing. That's a thing right there. Now, that interpretation of the Avengers taking on that is contained only within that comic book.
Pretty much.
Who knows if the Superior Spider-Man or Scarlet Spider or the Red Hulk or the new like Asian Hulk. He's not new Asian Hulk anymore, because that was like 2 years ago that there was a new Hulk that was like some Asian guy. I don't know anything else about him other than he wears like a wristband, like a metal wristband. I don't know, but who knows if that Hulk compared to this Hulk could take him on. All we know is that these versions of the characters could do it.
Right.
Could New 52 Batman beat Adam West Batman?
So I guess that does, because like I was mentioning before, as long as you accept the fact that it's not a canon, it's your interpretation, that you could solve these fights. I guess there's no way for us or any fan or even side comics or fan comics or whatever to ever actually interpret whether or not within canon should these characters ever be able to fight one or the other. Just because you're not the artist, it's not your character, there's no way for you to actually interpret anything without them actually confirming.
Yeah, exactly. And even within the same continuity, different writers for different issues. So it's like, well, if I were writing that issue, I would have made Spider-Man do this, or I would have made Batman do that. But if you take it, if you take that part out and you just take it as you don't have to worry about one writer doing it one way. You worry about what actually happened. Then the only person who can confirm it is them.
Yeah, like one of the things that I could pull is that there was a conversation that I had with somebody, and one of the examples that they pulled is that, well, if you take like Goku versus Chris Redfield, there's you could clearly say
he's a boulder
who would
puncher.
win. But one of the counterpoints that I had is, how can you actually tell, because both of them are in completely different universes. In one universe, ki is an actual predominant factor, and it makes basically rocks crumble like tissue paper. But in another universe, it's more realistic. People actually get scratched and shot by bullets, and ki is not a thing.
Yeah,
so
but
if
Chris
you were to...
Redfield can boulder punch. and depending on your playthrough of Resident Evil 5, you can kill Wesker just by shanking him over and over again because you ran out of ammo. That didn't happen to me. That happened to a friend. They did co-op, and they beat the final Wesker fight with just knives. So,
Nice
even
OP.
with... Yeah, so,
But yeah, anyways, in that example, I'm trying to express the fact that you have two characters of completely different universes. And yeah, at glance, you would say Goku should win just because within his universe, how powerful he is. But you can't actually mash the characters together because our own universe is the only way to compare them. And Goku can't do half the shit that he does in his universe because it would blow up the planet just by punching. So
yeah, like he could twitch and sneeze and blow up everything.
Yeah, so as long as you accept whatever that you actually convey is your own interpretation, so you say, okay, so we're going to assume that Ki can exist in this universe, and that Chris Redfield is just going to be a normal human, then bam, I could say Goku wins because, well, obviously the Ki is going to put him way above. But
Chris Redfield is not a normal human. That man, like, have you seen that neck? Boy looks like a thumb.
But yeah, the end result is pretty much it becomes your interpretation. So as long as you accept it's your interpretation and not the artist's interpretation, then it's okay. But if the artist goes out and says, yeah, Ki could exist in this universe and Goku would win, then there you go.
Or could Wesker use Ki?
Or yeah, is Wesker using Ki?
Wesker versus Hit? They both got trench coats and they're both kind of assholes.
Yeah, there you go. Battle of the assholes.
Battle of the trench coat wearing fuckwads.
Oh God, no.
And then who would win, Wesker or Neo? Because he's the one, but he's not.
Oh God.
Because you know, it was the program guy the whole time.
Yeah, you mean Smith?
Yeah, Smith. Because
Smith was the one.
Yeah, because you had to be born in the Matrix, and Neo wasn't born in the Matrix to fulfill the prophecy. Smith was. He was born in the Matrix, so
yeah, I actually love that fan theory about how like Smith is actually the one the whole time.
Yeah, I think that's cool. That the villain of the series is the prophesized hero.
But it's like one of those things where you have to really look into it, and that's what they love to do that. They really love to do that.
Hi, I'm Matt Pat with Film Theory. Is Wesker the one? You know, if Wesker entered the fucking Matrix, would he actually be the one? Because
fucking mid-roll, 4-minute ad plays.
Well, thanks for watching. Hey, Film Theory.
Mario's
Film
communist.
But that's just the theory.
Well, I mean, if we do take film theory into account, then Ki is just plasma. It's just plasma.
Just plasma. Well, no,
So-
that's expelled Ki is plasma.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Expelled Ki, all their beams is just plasma. So, like, any character that has, like, resistance to plasma-based things or, you know, that really kind of ruins it. Because if you look at what plasma is able to do, it's not able to blow up planets.
In concentrated forms, you can.
Yeah, well, but how concentrated? And see, the more logic you apply, the less. You know,
Physics.
So that's logical.
Why you have physics in my comic books?
the more logic you apply, the less logical. Yes.
Oh, and then things just go sideways when you're like, well, what about Harry Potter versus anything?
Because he could
Why
use
the fuck?
Avada Kedavra or like Expelliarmus or Wingardium Leviosa.
Because the concept there
Sorry.
is now they're using magic, which magic is supposed to break physics.
Stop.
Yeah.
Or fuck, what was that character? The character who's basically like he's a wizard who is a detective kind of person. Can't remember. Dresden.
Who?
Dresden from Dresden Files.
I don't even know what that is. The only detective I know is Case Closed.
Yeah, he's basically like a hidden wizard in a world where magic is like, you know, subterfuge, and he does like all these supernatural case files. It's a good book.
Yeah, it sounds cool. Oh, you know, but
Oh yeah,
who
Supernatural
would win
stupid
in-
too.
who would win in a fight? Metroid or Halo? Because Metroid, Metroid's a pretty powerful guy. You know, he's got that arm cannon and everything.
but are you talking about Samus?
Yeah, I'm being.
Because I was gonna say, are you talking
Yeah,
about
I kinda
Metroid,
got it.
the alien
dude,
creature
no,
versus
dude,
the
I love-
Halos?
Dude, I love Metroid. He's the best bounty hunter. And Halo, dude, that guy, he fights aliens and doesn't afraid of anything.
No. I like this fight. The Metroid creature versus the Halos.
Halo
from
rings.
Halo.
Well, the Halo rings do absolutely fucking nothing by themselves.
No, they just contain the aliens, don't they?
Well, they contain the flood, some of them, but they're so like, you know, the Metroids
Stuff.
But the Halo rings are also bioweapons of sorts.
Yeah, so the bioweapon of Halo
no, 'cause,
versus
like, you
the
fire
bioweapon
them-
of
Well, 'cause
Metroid.
because you fire them, and it wipes out all sentient life.
Because of the creatures.
Because they're designed to starve the flood. So
Oh.
Metroids are sentient life.
So the Halo would destroy the Metroids.
The Halos would completely disintegrate them. But that wouldn't be Metroid versus the Halo rings. That would be Metroid versus whoever is activating the Halo rings. But yeah, I mean, if we were jokes aside, it's like who would win, Samus or Master Chief? It's like, well, they both got power armor.
Take it off.
But one could curl into a ball.
I thought you would have called into a ball.
Because
Yeah.
you're small.
We're scared.
Yeah, but like, so there you go. Master Chief. Well, who remembers that old animation, Haloid? It was made by Monty Ohm.
Was it the one when Master Chief was a girl?
No,
Who was that one?
I don't know.
Remember?
But Haloid, Monty Ohm, if you don't remember, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Early animator of Ruby. Poor guy. But Haloid was poorly lit, like awesome fight. Like there was like no lighting because it was all just like ripped models from shit. And it was
Right.
basically what Master Chief and Samus fighting, and then they team up against the Covenant and they do some really cool shit like Cortana, not a Cortana, like a fucking Samus throws one of the Jackal shields, and then the Master Chief ricochets a sniper bullet off of it, and it like bounces between the two shields and kills a bunch of the Covenant and everything. So, you know, if
I
we're just
remember
talking-
this.
Yeah, Haloid.
Haloid. All
Oh,
right,
yeah, they
well,
had like a weird like love scene. The fuck.
Oh yeah, they do have
we're
that
coming
weird-
up to about an hour, so I think it's about time for us to wrap up this conversation. I think the like end product is pretty much clear. The idea is that yes, you could do a super fight as long as you know it's your own interpretation, and no, you can't actually determine the canon of a super fight without the
Without asking.
artist's input. Artist's
Yeah.
input.
Yeah.
If you guys have anything that you
Who's
want
right?
to like discuss or whatnot, or anything you want to interject within the conversation, please post in the comment section below. This video will be going out on YouTube. If you guys want to add to the conversation, I'll be around. I'll always be able to answer comments. I always get the notifications for those.
Yeah, I stalk the videos occasionally, so
Yeah, you fuck.
might be
knew
around.
it. Master Chief was a girl. I remember. Yeah, I told you. I remembered this scene.
What?
It was like after the
well,
fight.
that's not
went
actually
down.
how. Like in the books, he's just some pale white dude.
Yeah, I know that, but like I know for the animation, it was Master Chief was a
Yeah,
girl.
right.
Monty's. What was going on in your head, Monty?
Guys, let's go around.
Sorry.
Tell us what you guys are going to be doing the rest of the week.
Asian.
Do you have anything coming up? So
gonna
one
let
under.
DB
You want
go.
to start?
Oh, okay, I guess I'll go first. I'm probably just gonna stream in infrequently. I'm planning a stream for Monday, maybe Tuesday. Like I'm definitely streaming Monday. That's all I know for right now. And then I'm gonna be on this guy's streams all throughout the week if he has them.
You have a Mixer stream now, right? You want to plug
Yeah,
it?
it's Mixer. Yeah, it's mixer.com/OneunderK, I guess.
100K, I guess, the whole word.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. 100K, I guess. No,
Then-
it's 100K. I played Fortnite yesterday because people asked me to, but the first day I played like Sonic, and I'm just gonna play a bunch of random games. People were asking me to play Roblox on Monday, so expect some dumb shit for a little bit, and then I'm gonna be like, all right, this isn't fun anymore. I'm gonna go play Sonic Adventure 2.
All right,
What the
DB?
hell? Sorry, I was just watching Master Chief and Samus do a dance party. I don't know what the fuck was wrong with Monty back then. That's some weird shit.
Yeah.
Well, I still,
Okay,
I still have my YouTube channel. You know, it should be in the description. You know, Dbzethioboy and all that. And I do have for Mondays in Beats Area. Then Fridays or Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays in Beats Area, and the rest is probably gonna be me trying to finishing Fighter Z, which
I
is
knew you were going to do that.
what? What's wrong with Fighter Z?
Nothing. No,
I'm trying to finish it. Yeah, fuck.
I haven't
Yeah,
even
dude.
started that.
Haven't even
Yo.
beaten it yet. What are you, a fucking scrub?
It takes forever.
It takes forever.
You're just bad, dude. You're.
What do you?
I
do
saw
you
I saw your episode from today. You are severely underleveled.
Yes, I am. Well, because I don't want to go out and
Krillin
grind.
was
because-
level 6, and you're
Why the
fighting
hell
level
do I-
15 characters.
It's the first arc. God damn.
Okay.
Yeah, all you is-
I need to be at disadvantage,
So-
okay? Because I'm a god.
Okay, so the stuff that I'm going to be doing for this week is we do have a board game. Hopefully I could get that rendered out for, was it me, One Under, and DB played.
DB, hey.
Yeah.
All this.
Yeah, we all
Gang's all
play-
here.
We played the This War of Mine board game. That is
Yes.
a long ass board game. I'm still like going through the footage. So there's that. I think there probably is more Terraria. I don't think all the episodes have been out. And also
Yeah.
more of Kingdom Come Deliverance, which I'm
How is
definitely
that,
gonna-
by the way?
I love it. It's awesome.
Ooh.
Apparently,
'Cause
some
I
people.
actually haven't.
I was gonna say apparently some people didn't necessarily like some of the aspects of it, like the picking up items, interactions, and stuff. But I don't know. I don't mind it. It's basically like every time you pick up an item, it has an animation of you picking up the item.
Oh, it's like Far Cry 3 when you loot bodies, and every single time you go like, and you like feel around on the dead body, or you like bend down, skin the animal.
Yeah, they also have a hunger system, and their save system is kind of annoying. In order to save, you basically have to drink your schnapps or whatever the hell it is, and you only get like 3 uses of it, and then you have to like craft more of it. Otherwise,
What the
you just
fuck?
have to wait for auto updates.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
That's
so
dumb as
so to
hell.
save, it's basically Resident Evil, but instead of a typewriter, you get drunk.
Yeah, and the thing is, the typewriters were at specific points, so you were always guaranteed a save point. You're not guaranteed if you wasted all your booze on a specific hard
Well,
part.
no. So there's auto updates. So there's updates that will happen automatically. But if you
Yeah,
want to
auto.
save at any point beyond that,
Yeah.
you gotta have your schnapps
Alrighty then.
or snaps. I don't know what the hell they're called. There's
Snap.
something. I need to see like how easy it is to make them before I really get past judgment on that, because you can craft more. So.
Alright, well that's good at least.
So yeah, that's what's gonna be happening on my channel. And hopefully we'll keep continuing Zen Thought each week. I'll see about like what we're gonna be doing with that. But
yeah.
I forgot to mention, yeah, Zara wasn't here. Normally it's just me and Zara and a guest. But Zara's been having like a lot of schedule conflicts as of late, so may or may not be in every Zen Thought podcast at this point, but we'll see. He might be here. He might be back next week.
This is an improvement. What are you
Yay.
talking about?
Wow. All right.
Rude.
Well, anyways,
I
guys,
hope you hear it.
if you guys just so you guys know, if you're on Mixer or Twitch, as DB mentioned, his stuff is in the description below. That's in the YouTube, which is at Heroes of Fools, or sorry, not at Heroes of Fools. YouTube.com/HeroesNFools is where the podcast will be, but DB's channel is YouTube.com/Dbzethioboy, isn't it?
See.
Yes.
See.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out because some people on Mixer, some people on Twitch. It happens.
You a stufa.
Oof.
Stufa. All right, so that's it. If you have any suggestions for the next Zen Thought podcast, post them down below. But anyways, guys, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, and we'll see you all next time. Take care and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Stufas.
What?
Stufa. You're in
What
a
is